Welcome to LegacyCast, your source for hearing from top influencers, industry experts, and successful business owners who are telling their unique story about life, values, goals, business strategies, and the various causes they are so passionate about. Future generations will come to be impacted by what is happening today, whether positive or negative, and our mission is to focus on what is going to affect change for the better. Hosted each weekday by James Snow, a former U.S. Army combat medic, now founder and principal advisor of James Advisors Group, a full-service financial planning firm in North Texas. This is LegacyCast. Welcome, LegacyCast listeners. This is your host, James Snow, and we're coming to you today. I have a very special guest with me today. I have Amanda Fitzpatrick, and she is a realtor, and she does a lot of other things, and really gives back to the veteran community in many ways, and also is also from the military background herself. So I'd like to welcome Amanda to the program.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited to be here.
So you were talking about you do the give back. Can you tell me a little bit more?
Yeah. So I originally started out in real estate about 10 years ago, more for my own personal long-term financial gain. And what I realized is that there is a large amount of gain to be had by many people. You don't have to be selfish with it. So I started donating proceeds from my real estate commissions to veterans in different capacities. Sometimes meals, sometimes assistance with housing, getting housing. There's a wonderful program called VASH from Veterans Affairs that provides supportive housing, which is basically therapy and housing. It's a wonderful benefit. I refer quite a few people to it. So it was a multitude of ways. And so what's really exciting is in the last month, I have made the transition to a different company. I was with Keller Williams, and now I've moved to Platinum Realty out of Kansas City. And with that, I basically gained an additional 30% of my commissions to make a difference with veterans. And so next year, my goal is to get more hunting and fishing trips because I've seen how therapeutic being outdoors can be. I've actually had a veteran who, after Iraq, left and became a fishing guide in North Dakota because he couldn't handle being around, the everyday hustle and bustle of life. It was affecting his PTSD too much. So you can see those kind of examples. And so I just kind of want to spread that love around. And so now I have an additional 30% of my commission to go ahead and do that with. So next year is going to be a really wonderful year. I've already got some kind of measurements planned and hiking trips and things of that nature, just to kind of give back to the community that's given so much to me as a veteran.
That's great. Now, when you think about legacy, that's obviously the topic of the program here. How's that fitting into when you think of legacy? How is this fitting into that picture?
So what I do is I think long term, because this isn't just about me. It's about generations to come, and kind of being that Veterans Day just came and went. You kind of think about the fact that as veterans, we're generational. We're not going to be the only ones that are going to be this way. We have it all the way back to World War I, and these guys have passed, and their legacy is still alive. So that's why I started the nonprofit in hopes that I can build a board that has younger veterans, so we can continue this mission, continue to give back. It's not just about me; it's about everyone who comes after me as well, and before. Because I've seen wonderful things with Vietnam veterans that we've done as well, dealing with things that they've never talked about. So it's kind of a long-term goal. And one of the things that we're doing with that is buying 80 acres in southern Oklahoma for hunting and fishing trips. So it'll be a place of sanctuary for the veterans. It will have hiking trails kind of in it. And then hopefully we'll be able to, we've talked to the neighbors, and hopefully we'll be able to get more land over time, and that they will either donate or reduce the price of that land so that this can go on and be a great legacy, not just for myself, but for other veterans.
So do you feel that that it's important that everyone actively consider what they're doing to create their own legacy in their process?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because life is incredibly short, and that's one thing I learned in the military is you never know when your life could end. And for it to go on and pass on to your children and to generations after that, it's an amazing thing. And that's kind of the important part, because we are just moments on this earth. This earth will continue, and hopefully we can make an impression that's going to last.
So how do your views on legacy affect your plans as far as business and things of that sort?
So the way that I see it, it's long term. I do a little bit of short game planning, but most of my planning is long term, because legacies aren't built overnight. These things are going to continue, and so I do my best to do what I call it the long game. I make sure that it's not just going to be temporary, that there's funding sources to come for very many years. And that's kind of where I see it. But I'm always open to other people's opinions about it, because, we only know what we know, and I only know what I know, and people have different opinions about it. So I'd love to hear what you think about how to make that legacy last. What's your opinion on
it? In what regard?
So, if I'm building this legacy for many years to come, what is your opinion on how to sustain and keep a lasting legacy? How is that created, in your opinion?
Well, the way that I approach legacy is, everything is sort of a story, and you're wanting to pass that story forwards. And so it's really handled from a financial approach, and people need to create strategies that are going to be put into place so that they can basically take things from one generation to the next generation.
Okay, and hopefully I can do that. That's one thing that we're kind of working on, but being a market person with real estate, I'm kind of getting concerned because we've gone so good for so long and we haven't had a reset yet. So that's what we're currently financially planning for is, possibly a market downturn, because eventually it will come back up, but we need to be able to weather the storm in the meantime, because, the nonprofit that I have is basically primarily funded by commissions. So if commissions go down, that means we can't do as much. So that's why we're looking for longer term sources, long term donors, things of that nature.
Sure. So as a CEO and entrepreneur, what would be maybe a couple things that keep you up at night when you're thinking about those things?
Planning, constant planning, not knowing. I think the thing, I kind of brought it up, but I think the market is what concerns me the most at this point, because we have gone so good for so long, since 2008, we've been going up and up and up and up, and we've seen that market semi-readjust in the last 2 months. But in the housing market, it hasn't hit us quite yet as it has the stock market. So the things that keep me up literally are financials. And I've been that way for a very long time. My staff thinks I'm crazy because I have everything in an Excel spreadsheet, which is very old school. But I account, and I learned this from, this is so funny, but I learned this from an old boss of mine who I went on employment with, and he had an Excel spreadsheet for every month since the day he graduated high school. Every penny, every financial budgeting at its finest. And so I kind of learned from him because you lose track of how much you're spending if you're not tracking it. And I know bank accounts, that's easy to do, but say you can see financially where we're maybe going wrong, what we're overspending on, where we could reduce that budget. So financials is basically what keeps us at night. It's not the drive or the passion. Vets have a lot of that. And the love that I get from everything that we do is what kind of sustains me, because there's so much thankfulness for what's going on with kind of giving back to these veterans.
Sure.
I had a fishing guide that did a trip, and a veteran thanked him, and he said, "I just want to tell you the only reason I didn't have a gun in my mouth today was because we went fishing." And that is the moment that the buck hits the road. If we didn't do this, we wouldn't be making a difference. And it's incredibly important because these people gave so much for us that to give back to them and give them some sort of normalcy is kind of our goal. But at the end of the day, financials keep me up, and the mission is what keeps me going.
Yeah, and you have a very, very important mission that you're doing. So I certainly encourage to continue on that one.
Thank you. I mean, the return that we get is beyond any investment that we could ever put in this. It just makes a huge difference. So if we can expand and grow this and keep this going. And I'm not going to lie, there are a lot of organizations like ours across the country. We're located in Oklahoma, and that's kind of where our focus is. But it's not just my organization. Any organization that's going to get out there, get off the beaten path with vets and make a difference in their lives is incredibly important.
Yeah, that's true. So do you believe it's important that people create some sort of business plan and other strategies within their business?
Yes. So one of the things that I did when I started this nonprofit, because I actually started it in 2014, is I got with a SCORE mentor to help me do the business plan. And it's made a tremendous difference in how we operate. Mentorship and getting a plan together was probably the hardest part. And those things change over time. So, I've been in business for over 15 years now. And what I thought, through my formal education in my bachelor's, in 2004 is completely different than how I run my business now. 2018, we are completely ridden with social media and those planning things. And what's funny is part of my business plan is my social plan. And that just seems crazy to me sometimes, that I have to plan for social media. It's part of what keeps us relevant. And so that's one aspect of our business plan. And that's really what got us to where we are today, because we have a 3-home site in Wewoka, Oklahoma, that is with the VASH program. And then we also have the 80 acres that we're doing in Wynnewood. And we wouldn't have been able to accomplish that without a solid plan to accomplish this.
That's very true. Yeah, a lot of people think that they can kind of wing it and so forth, and it scares me.
And I'm not wrong. There are days where I call it "fake it till you make it," because we used to do that in the military too.